I'm oft alone, I'm rarely lonely. The open road's my one and only. The nightly cold comes on so fast. True love truly doesn't last. I squeeze to make it cry or sing. Got the song, I lost the thing. It's hard to think on frost when flowers bloom. But at least the daffodils hang down, wear an almost human frown. How that trouble chases me from room to loving room. They said progress was a fact of earth. That rhetoric's as dumb as dirt. I don't want to work a dead-end job. Penny saved, a penny lost. So I'll owe no one will owe me. Shake my hand and set me free. I cannot force a man to mind his word. They said, won't you take it easy, son? The war is over, rich folks won. But I got lucky, I stayed raw. I held glory in my paws. When I met a mule named Beauty in the state of old Missouri, and a donkey named Winged Victory in the state of Arkansas. So I believe in the impossible. No one is expendable, and written large in every ache and pain is us growing hard or soft as we can get, growing equal, growing opposite. Our memory grows bigger every livelong ding-dong day. I won't swear a blessing, I'll swear a curse. It won't get better till it gets worse. One hand might wash the other in the blood of martyrdom. Tell me what is to become of us. Bones will break and guns will rust, and if you get satisfaction now, you won't in kingdom come. So it's old cold meds and coffee black, seeds and stems and potholes, back to places that won't let me call them home. The old bojangle, the old soft shoe, leave tendons for the wrecking crew. But I sang to the dementia ward, and the old folks all sang back. I sang to the dementia ward, and the bastards all sang back.
Well, Willi Carlisle, thank you so much for making your way down to CKUA Studios, and so grateful that you've managed to spare a little bit of time between the big sold-out show down the street at the Winspear Center, big, beautiful theater, and the Calgary Folk Fest this weekend. It's awesome to have your company.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. I really like Edmonton.
Yeah, you have a bit of history with Edmonton, actually, don't you?
It's a good one. I've been broke in a lot of towns, and Edmonton was really good to me. I did the Fringe Festival like 7 years ago, and it was one of the first times I got to perform for a lot of people and have something go well. It was like a weird play with masks and puppets and banjos and stuff, and it was like a solo storytelling show. Mm-hmm. And being able to do that for Canadian audiences, being a person far from home, made me think, man, I could maybe do this everywhere. Wow. And so, yeah, I kind of owe the city a lot in a way.
That's amazing. It's beautiful to have that connection. And like, it's interesting how much you have accomplished in your short career to this point. I mean, my understanding is that like, you're fascinated with so many different forms of art and music and so expressive and creative. My understanding of the story is that you set out to get a postgraduate degree in studying poetry and wound up a folk singer. Is that what happened there?
Well, I went to, grad school is not what it used to be, right? Which is to say, if you are a fellow millennials, if you also don't know what you're doing, you might pursue a graduate degree if you also have no definite purpose. And I went down to Arkansas to pursue this graduate degree, and I was interested in banjo music, square dancing, that kind of thing. I'd been a punk kid before that, and I kind of like, as I was aging out of punk music, fell directly into kind of traditional music as like another kind of community builder. It was like the 12-pack of beer became a potluck dish, and the mosh pit became a square dance. And then I got to Arkansas, and it was like, oh, okay, I've found my definite purpose. And it was like not so much, I guess, high literature as it was vernacular literature. I got to learn from people that learned from their grandparents or learned from old field recordings. Like, there were good archivists. It was like a good place to apprentice in the craft of being a folk singer.
It's amazing. And I love the way that you still bring a lot of all that to what you do as an original artist. Like the new record, Winged Victory, such a beautiful album. And like, there's everything from influences of Utah Phillips to Shakespeare on this thing.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, you were sound checking with like Yeats Talking Blues just now.
Right.
It's great that you can fold all that in there.
I think a lot about memory, I guess, and like I guess Utah Phillips talked about a long memory a lot, and he's, for those of you that don't know, is an anarchist folk singer who wrote a ton of fantastic songs, some of which got like rather famous back in the day. But he was kind of intentionally obscure, and I grew to really admire his like ideology, and I'm an admirer probably and probably a bad practitioner. I'm probably not a good anarchist or anything, but who amongst us thinks that they are? I wouldn't want to be in a club that would have me as a member, is kind of the joke.
Marxist.
Yeah, Groucho Marxist is the well, I'm sorry. Anyways, I've lost the plot, but I was interested in seeing what like my memory could do, and I was interested in poetry, so I memorized a lot of poems, and it meant that my brain was kind of like ready for this big download of folk and vernacular culture. I found that like I would leave a jam session like with a fiddle tune stuck in my head, and I would wake up with the same fiddle tune in my head, and then I could pick up a fiddle and then kind of make it happen, and then over a course of a period of time be a part of this oral tradition that is a real thing that everybody can do. Yeah. Everybody can do it. It's just like we lose that flexibility sometimes.
Right.
And we give up that flexibility maybe for another ability that in my case hasn't served me much at all. I haven't had much need to pay taxes or lead a conventional life. So I've had the space, I guess.
Yeah. And I think maybe all of those traditions have kind of come together because while you're decidedly a folk singer and coming from a folk singing tradition, a lot of what you do is very, very original. The music that you perform tends to be stuff you wrote, and it's got a very distinctive voice to it. And like their title track from Winged Victory is such an incredibly complex and beautiful composition. Do you remember what the seed was that kind of started that sprouting in your mind or your imagination?
I was at the Smithsonian Folklife Festival, and I was sitting down with like one of my favorite folklorists in the world, and somehow the topic of animals with funny names came up. And so you're amongst a bunch of people that can tell a long story and a longer lie. You know what I mean? Just like absolute windbags. And I was pretty in my cups. I'd had a lot to drink, and these guys were giving out moonshine on the National Mall, being like, this is part of Ozark culture. And it was just astounding. It was astounding. Good use of government funding. Well, I just had a long list of funny animal names, and one of them was a donkey named Winged Victory, which I thought was so funny. I guess the contrast between the ancient Greek statue of a winged goddess, and then the way a donkey runs, which looks pretty stupid. And also the way a happy donkey runs up to you. It's worth Googling. If you
I don't know that feeling.
It's sort of, I mean, it has no pride.
Right.
It has, and it has only joy, and the noise that they make is totally undignified. And so I just couldn't get that out of my head. And I'd written this traveling song like really quickly, and it was the idea of a donkey named Winged Victory that made it come together. And I wrote the traveling song like in an old notebook many years ago, just like one shot. I'm off the lone, I'm rarely lonely, the open road's my one and only, so on. And then just everything coalesced around the donkey somehow. I can't explain it. It might be a nonsense song. I'll give you that.
I don't know. I get such a you gain the world and you lose your soul kind of a vibe from some of the lyrics in that one,
I buy that.
Yeah.
I probably always intend a little more than I deliver.
Right.
Right. But I think it's important to shoot for victory even if you are an ass.
Well said, my friend. And you were just on tour with Tyler Childers, right? Like that was a big tour. I mean, I don't know if you're playing arenas necessarily, but giant show, and you were playing solo too, right?
I was. Yeah.
Wow, like what was that experience like? That must have been incredibly daunting.
It was great. Oh no, it was great. It
Okay,
was great. It was everybody's. It was in Australia, and I've done some in the States too. But everybody was so nice, and by everybody was so nice, I mean that Tyler and his team really take care of each other.
Yeah.
And they're also just musicians, and we speak the same language. And I don't believe I've ever had such fascinating conversations than I have in that green room. There's very little sense of stardom. It's really was a team. And I kind of doubted that the human spirit could translate over a Jumbotron. I'm not entirely convinced, and I'll stand in somebody's boots on a table and say it. But if it does, it is really nice to watch people do essentially a gospel revival show about love and togetherness that is also appealing to fans of classic country. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun there.
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily a Trojan horse type situation, but it is really beautiful to see somebody on that platform.
It's a little bit like there's no war,
right?
It's
Exactly.
like there's no need for the horse.
Yeah, I know,
it's like the gates are wide open.
Yeah.
It's just something interesting came through.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I feel like that's been happening. Maybe my rose-colored glasses, but I kind of feel like I see that a little bit more, like, you know, in the mainstream or the monoculture or whatever. Like a couple of the biggest blockbuster movies of late were like a complete unknown, you know, which kind of like interrogates the folk music phenomenon, and Sinners, which, you know, is all about folk music of different kinds, and as a metaphor for, you know, social critique. Maybe there's more room out there than, you know, I feel like this is part of what your work does. You're like, you know what? Why would I underestimate anybody's appetite for something cool and new and like imagination firing?
The only thing that I worry about is a kind of fashion first approach. You know, for example, these two new movies, they used music that was being sung by human beings, right, by the same people. In, for example, the "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" soundtrack from the first folk music scare of the aughts, right? They mostly were people imitating field recordings that were 70, 80 years old, right? And trying to do as close as possible to that, or in some cases an invention that sounded like it was from the era. I like the direction it's going in. I haven't seen either of those new movies, but I've listened to some of the music, and I guess I've avoided it. I've avoided it because it's a little too close to home. I'll have too many opinions.
Yeah.
And I can't sit next to my partner and have that many opinions on a movie and have it be fun. You know what I mean?
I always avoid music biopics as a rule. I just, for whatever reason, I'm scared. I'm too scared really to see them. I think one of the things that really knocks me out about the authenticity of your voice, and it feels like, I mean, I've heard you say that this album is like a doubling down on the weirdness. And I feel like you've kind of gone from, you know, the first record is so beautiful and so, like, you know, kind of in the public square, you know, doing a folk singer thing par excellence. And then it's kind of got more and more layers of the personal as time has gone on, it feels like.
I buy that.
Yeah.
I have no idea where it's going to go next. I don't view that as like a one path thing. Getting to produce myself for the first time was so fun, and I learned so much, and there's so much more I want to do. It just made me endlessly hungry for that creative process. That said, being an artist on tour on the road and playing a lot of instruments and enjoying playing a lot of shows. I love a club show. It's where we shine the most. I've just built some puppets for our next club run. It's like I'm a little crazy about too many different weird things.
Yeah.
So I may not actually get the chance to self-produce again because it takes me a month, 2 months, a long time. But that doesn't mean life is long. You know, life is long. So I hope there's another chance to do it. But I got to be weird because I was totally driving the bus and I had nobody to say, like, maybe that's a little odd.
Slow down the bus a bit.
And there's moments now in retrospect where I wish it was like, man, if we just had an extra day and a xylophone, we could have made something. You know what I'm saying?
Which of us hasn't said that?
Yeah.
Once in a while. Yeah.
This is Big Butt Billy. I was traveling down that lonesome road. These past decades, the highway's been my home. Stopped into Ariston off Route 66. That's south of Winnipeg, north of Texas. With hash browns so burnt and eggs so raw, you make an Idahoan cry and hear the chickens squall. In that sticky corner booth with that familiar conundrum, do I want the Salisbury steak or do I dare the liver and onion? I ran into something I knew nothing about. I tell you, good buddy, I was knocked right out by Big Butt Billy, Big Butt Billy. Well, how'd they ever get those tiny little britches on? Well, good God Almighty, hell, Satan, I've never seen a finer they them than Big Butt Billy. Yes, setting a fresh cup of coffee in front of me was an elfin specimen of the non-binary quantity saying, what do you want? On the top or on the side? I said, ooh, hey, Billy, say, what do you like? So fair with blue hair and that septum piercing and a bone structure that I find mighty appealing. What a calipigian angel sweet Jesus has gifted us. I'm using these collegiate words to tell you that rear was ridiculous on Big Butt Billy, Big Butt Billy. Well, how'd they ever get those tiny little britches on? Well, good God Almighty, hell, Satan, I've never seen a finer they them than Big Butt Billy. Yeah, they brought me my meal so heavy, so fine, I had to unhitch my wagons and set a while, contemplate those mysteries of life while Billy filled my coffee a third dang time and asked if I wanted pie, and I did. Now, some of you might find this song inappropriate. I'm here to tell you, go ahead, shut up and get over it. Beauty is truth, and truth is booty. Be smart. You can't put nookie on a sympathy card. You got to find it for yourself. And who's bringing me a piece of pie for my health but Big Butt Billy? Yeah, Big Butt Billy. Yeah, I'm into what I'm into, but I left pretty quick. I even made sure that I double tipped. I didn't dare leave my name or number on a napkin, so you can't tell me that I'm not a perfect gentleman. But every now and then, every so often, I wake up thinking of what might have been, and I say this for posterity, for the record, that what I left behind is the kind of posterior that troubles your mind. I'm talking about the kind of bold, brash, bountiful brick doo-doo house that might inspire these hairy-eyed long haulers to the kind of ocular circumambulations generative of loud and vulpine awoogas, as in the days of yore. I'm referring to the kind of keister that recommends the direct interposition of the hand of God in the anterior matter of this young colt and or filly. For how else could such a voluminous pantaloon buster come to be on this green earth? My word, who let you out of the house carrying that thing around in front of God, your mama, and everybody? And I say, let it be holy, holy, holy enough to sanctify the delicate waggle of the yolk, jelly, and jam. Let it be holy, holy, holy enough to sanctify the candy apple-colored vinyl and the doo-wop music and the way that your butt goes quick when it comes off of the candy apple vinyl. I said, let it be holy, holy, holy enough to sanctify the slack-jawed talking about hay prices among the big-headed elders. Let it be holy, holy, holy enough that the chalice-bearing neophyte shall over-caffeinate us all. Let it be holy, holy, holy enough that the friar shall lay down with the lamb chop, and that righteousness should be the only girdle of our loins. Along these addled highways wherein my primate brain endlessly seeks out attraction, affection, and dare I say it, friends, love. From Big Butt Billy, Big Butt Billy. Well, how'd they ever get those tiny little britches on? Well, good God Almighty, hell, Satan, I've never seen a finer they them than Big Butt Billy.
So this song, which I just think is such a brilliant talking blues, could you tell us about Big Butt Billy and what stoked your imagination there? That's coming from a real folkloric tradition, that one.
I just wanted to do a talking blues about big butts for a very long time. There's some dumb bucket list things. I like writing songs that are me telling myself, look, any folk singer worth their salt would have tried this, right? And I've done a number of talking blueses. I like them. But I'd never done one that was like that kind of classic small town guy goes into a diner type situation. And I thought that a small town guy falling in love with a non-binary waiting person would be a hilarious scenario. And yeah, that's really it. I think in America, to make it a lot less funny, in America, like, we legislate this stuff in a way that is pretty inhuman and doesn't recognize people's individual experiences and tamps down people's sexuality on a level that is both really direct and also really subtle. As a queer person, the way that I came to it was far more in truck stops and on Craigslist personals than in like in more traditional scenarios.
Uh-huh.
And it was it's shocking to me that stuff has never found its way into like I guess conversations about how sexuality exists on a spectrum. So even though the speaker of that song, this trucker going into a diner, is not me, it was sort of like I wanted to have a situation that could describe somebody being not strictly straight, who also is in love with the most unlegislatable thing in the world, the human rear.
And I feel like it's all kind of a piece in a sense that, I mean, whether it's like, attacking capitalism or materialism, or, finding a way to like make a talking blues about a queer topic, I feel like it's all challenging and critiquing and trying to open up a bit more space overall in terms of like the moment in time that we're at as a kind of broader society.
You want it to? I think that I probably will try to write songs that are just baby, baby, baby someday. I really want to. And I also would like to write really personal songs that have nothing to do with, that are not guided so strongly by ideology. But right now it's been the thing that my favorite of my mentors have done, and it's the thing that I enjoy the most and invites the most craft into the room.
Mm.
I'm struck, maybe shook even, by the speed at which kids on TikTok, and I don't even mean kids, adults too, peers of mine, can write these songs very quickly. Something will happen in the zeitgeist and it'll be like, boom.
Yeah.
I feel a lot less topical. I feel like I want to write something that will sink into your bones. That's like maybe the fertilizer for a new garden or something, as opposed to like, well, now I know what to think about this issue.
Right.
But so it's a good time for social and political folk songs. And I would like for mine to be not just social or political, but ideological, sort of all encompassing.
Yeah, sure. And it's interesting that you mentioned TikTok too. Like, it strikes me that, in some ways we're kind of going through a great democratization or grassrootsifying of people that are truly independent artists who can all of a sudden, plug right into the zeitgeist in surprising ways. Or even, I mean, you're studied in folk dance. I mean, like, what is the TikTok dance, of craze of today or yesterday or tomorrow, if not, a kind of micro folk dance in a sense.
Sure. Taking a process that should take 100 years and making it go at lightning speed and leave everybody else behind that doesn't get directly involved. The perfect way to juice the money out of young minds and to sap their attention spans until no cultural memory exists anymore but the logic of late capitalism. Yeah, what else is it but folklore?
Right.
I'm obviously struggling with that. And I don't really know what my response is, because it is great that it's democratizing stuff. It also is great that like you can learn about just about friggin' anything at any moment. I look forward to the day when that is less exploitative. Right. And I think that I want to create an invitation to people to begin to engage with the long memory that's just there waiting for them. It's like just below the surface of those videos. And I think that there are a lot of people using platforms like that for it. Yeah, I think that's the way I'm most able to respect other artists doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is when the repertoire shows itself to be deeper and the knowledge shows itself to be deeper, and even just like the work finds moments to be abstract, weird, and ever-changing. My fellow Arkansas dude, Jesse Wells, is somebody I really admire who does that awfully well, where there'll be something that's almost unmistakably just pure poetry, or even just like a mind sweep, and then something else that's like, let's do this happened today. I'm going outside and I'm singing about it.
Yeah, it really is amazing. I feel like at every turn, whether we want it or not, like the technology and the public square, meets the moment, and some people are really extra ready for it, in the way that obviously Jesse is, and other people that maybe kind of aligned with you to some extent, like people like Sierra Ferrell, your buddy, or Nick Shoulders for that matter, and people doing exciting things in very contemporary ways. I feel like there's that art which is created, or in the clothes of art, entertainment is created to sort of numb us momentarily, and in some ways to kind of sap us, and then there's that art which is created to absorb our attention and excite us and expand what we do. And I feel like those people, and yourself and all those who are kind of part of a new folkloric movement of today, they're kind of using the tools of, mass entertainment to do something beautiful and maybe even subversive,
Well, I hope so. That's either a blessing or a curse, right? I hope so.
Yeah.
The promise of the movements of the 60s and 70s were, I mentioned Pete Seeger earlier. Something I can't get out of my head was somebody in Pittsburgh coming up to him at a union meeting and being like, why are we hearing all this old bluegrass stuff? Which what he was doing maybe wasn't even bluegrass. Like, we would like to hear some of the music that we actually listen to these days. Which is to say that the hippies didn't save the unions, right?
Yeah.
In fact, they built the tech industry.
Yeah. Who are smashing the unions.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no unilateral, there's no unilateral way to judge a generation, of course, right? But I harshly judge my own. And so I hope it can be subversive. I think that's the goal. And I do hope it's art.
Yeah.
More and more sometimes I think it's entertainment. There's elements of showbiz I really like. Vaudeville had some extraordinary craft to it. It's nice to feel like a craftsperson at the end of the day. And it is something I really like about showbiz and about folk music and its intersection, is that there were vaudeville performers and even early TV performers, Grandpa Jones, things like Hee Haw, the early Grand Ole Opry or the National Barn Dance on the radio, or even shows like Leave It to Beaver or something, that used a lot of the craft of old vaudeville at the same time as creating public entertainment. And that's a nice place to lay your head if you wonder if you're really being a fine artist, to just say, well, I make clay pots, and this is a clay pot. You can put things in it. So I guess I always want a blend of both.
Yeah. Fine art and folk art.
Yeah, and I don't want to be and it's because of it. It helps ameliorate the cynicism that I'm just describing.
Right, absolutely.
And I think it's rare to hear someone be as optimistic as you just were, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to take that with me. I really will.
It's an affliction of mine.
It's a good affliction. I want it. I will steal it.
Yeah, well, your music resonates with me so much, and here at CKUA, I mean, this is a community-powered broadcaster, and every day we feel, as you do when you look into the eyes of people in the front row of an audience, whether it's a giant theater or a small club or festival as you're about to be performing at, those are the affirming moments when you realize that there's a connection being made, because we get to talk to our community every day. It's powered by our community. It wouldn't be here without them, and it's for them. And so it feels like it's all part of a holistic, virtuous circle, truly.
This is why folk singers need community radio. I mean it. We're terrified about the NPR funding stuff.
Yeah.
I mean it, and I just was on morning edition or weekend edition recently, and it's like I felt a little bit like a jerk for doing a plug. I was like, I don't think folk singers can stop singing the news any more than NPR can stop doing the news, and it was like, am I doing a plug for NPR so that they'll have me? And it's like, no, I've been on NPR stations for a decade, small ones, and it's lucky to be on the big one. And by God, they're necessary, and it's one of the last bastions of the liberal arts in some ways, right? It's one of the last places where we're still kind of going to educate each other together, and where somebody is still going out and saying, hey, what's going on? Journalism having changed so massively in the last 20 years or so.
Well, we all need each other, right? I mean, like, of course, the broadcaster needs funding from its, community, but we also need like great music to play on the radio. So we need you, and they, it's just something where everybody's kind of doing their bit. It's kind of the way it's supposed to be.
You hope so.
Yeah. And you're providing such a brilliant way for us to get inside, this potentially troubling moment that we're in where humanity is concerned. And
it's troubling, yeah.
I'm very grateful for the, heart on sleeve and incredibly thoughtful and very expressive way that you do it. And I know that we're just so thrilled to have you here at CKUA Studios and performing on a number of different instruments. We mentioned the concertina earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a good moment to play something that is, for one, timeless, and for another, all about love in a kind of a different way from Big Butt Billy, I guess, but, all about love for sure.
I'll do this Shaker hymn called Love is Little. I learned it from a little book of Shaker hymns I found in a used bookstore somewhere on the road, and I'm sure I've changed it quite a bit. I don't read music well enough to probably do it exactly as intended, but I made a little arrangement of it for the concertina, and it's one of those things that felt like an earworm that was made just for me, and that I didn't know anyone else that sung it. That's one of the most fun things, is to find something that no one knows about that you feel like everybody needs to. It's very simple.
It's kind of like the highest possible, most noble purpose of a folk singer, I guess you could say.
Yeah, why not? I'll take that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Willi Carlisle. This has been such an amazing joy having you here.
Thanks for doing it.
Okay.
I want to do an old hymn from the Shaker tradition called Love is Little.
Oh, love is little, love is low, love's gonna make my spirit grow. Grow in faith, grow in light, love's gonna do the thing that's right. Love's gonna do the thing that's right. Oh, love's eternal, has no end, tender mercies now descend. Full of hope, full of grace, I'm gonna look love in the face. I'm gonna look love in the face. Oh, love is little, love is low, love's gonna make my spirit grow. Grow in faith, grow in light, love's gonna do the thing that's right. Love's gonna do the thing that's right. Oh, love surrounds me, makes me whole. Love eternal fills my soul. Free from fear, free from pain. In the end, oh, love will reign. In the end, love will reign. Oh, love is little, love is low. Love's gonna make my spirit grow. Grow in faith, grow in light. Love's gonna do the thing that's right. Love's gonna do the thing that's right.